Hello, everyone. Welcome to Follow the Money, brought to you by Nairametrics. My name is Ugodre, and we do this show every day. This is the daily version of the Follow the Money podcast and radio show that you're familiar with. That we often air every Mondays, 8 to 8:30 on Classic FM 97.3. We also have podcast versions of that radio show as well, so you can listen to it anytime you want on any podcast platform that you're familiar with or that you prefer to listen to podcasts on. So this is the daily version of that same show. Yeah, so we do this every day. Uh, and the whole idea is just so that you can always hear from me more often, and of course hear me break down some key issues, particularly in the capital markets. This show is all about making money and making money from the capital markets, that is, so equities, and then once in a while we can throw in fixed income in there, and any other thing, maybe even crypto. Who knows? So long as it's got to do with you making money, I would discuss it on the show. So I'm gonna be doing this every day. I hope I can keep up with it, but as much as possible, at least 3 times a week, gonna be getting this show. So it's called Follow the Money Daily. That just inspires me to want to do this every day. So I know mentally in my head that it's daily. All right, so this is the second episode of the show, and today is the 10th of July 2024. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about GT Bank today. GT Bank did push out, announce actually the start of their public offer. So, as you very well know, banks are in a race to raise capital, and the central bank has told all of them to raise capital. So, banks are now going straight out of the blocks, raising capital. We've seen Fidelity make its own announcement, and now GTB has also followed suit with its own announcement. We do know, or we do hear that there's another bank that might also make an announcement very soon. In fact, that bank is FCMB. I heard that they might be going. They would also be coming to the market in the next couple of days. So banks are in the race for capital, and I'm sure that some of your friends, brothers, sisters, relatives started calling you already to come buy. So you better manage how you use that cash, because you're likely going to find yourself owning stocks in several banks. Yeah, because I mean, if they don't sell those shares, they might kick them out. Anyway, let's just get quickly into the real deal. So GTB is out, and I was reading their facts behind the figures today, and interesting things that I saw. They want to raise, first of all, they want to raise 400 billion naira, significant amount of money, and they will do this by selling 9 billion shares at 44.5 naira per share. So it's a public offer, not a right issue. I think that's, at least that's information I have. Public offer, not a right issue. So unlike Access Bank's own was purely a right issue. So GT Bank is going for a public offer this time to raise money. And so interestingly, from what I read, a lot of about 130 billion or so of that money is going to be used for purely for their branch expansion, not just in Nigeria but outside Nigeria as well. They're looking at a host of African countries where they want to expand into. So they're going to be spending some of that money there. There's going to be spending another 130 or so billion as well on lending, increasing lending to small businesses and manufacturing companies as well. And then another 90 or so billion, which is like 98 billion actually, which is about $90 million on IT infrastructure, and then another 20 something billion dollars or so, billion naira. Why am I just saying billion dollars? Let's say something billion naira on their pension business and the other businesses that they have. So a huge chunk of that money is going to the bank itself, GT Bank. We know that the entity raising money is GT Co, which is the holding company for the bank. So even though the recapitalization is for banks, but it's the holding company that is raising money, and most of that money is going to go to GTB so that they can meet their recapitalization goals. So another interesting thing, the group MD CEO Segun Agbaje also boasted that this bank is going to be the first bank or the first company or the first financial holding company to hit $1 billion profit. No Nigerian bank, no Nigerian financial services company has ever done $1 billion dollars in profits before. Never, 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 ever. In fact, he's saying this is going to be the first Nigerian company to hit $1 billion. $1 billion these days is 1.5 trillion naira. So, I mean, based on that, we haven't seen anyone hit those kind of numbers at all. So, he claims that they're going to be the first. They did release their Q1 results earlier in the year, I think around April, and to everyone's shock, surprise, GTB actually did. I think it was over 500 million or thereabout in Q1 profit. So nothing that we hadn't seen those kind of numbers ever before, and so no surprises there that he's pretty confident that they can actually do those sort of numbers. They can do $1 billion in a matter of months. Well, maybe because in the next by this year, end of this year. So let me don't even call it months. Let me just say by the end of this year, he's very confident that they can do $1 billion. Are you confident that GT Bank can do $1 billion? Well, I mean, like I said, they've done. They already, in a way, one quarter. Away from $1 billion if you use their Q1 numbers as a benchmark, then maybe they're close. Q1 specifically, the bank did in terms of pre-tax profit 509 billion, in terms of profit after tax 457 billion. So if you multiply 457 by 4, and that's like 1.6. So he's pretty confident they can do those numbers. But should he be buying this public offer? GT Bank is selling at, like I mentioned, 44.5 naira per share, and as at close, the stock closed today. Not today because it hasn't closed. It hasn't closed yet. So let me use yesterday's numbers. At 45 naira 50 kobo per share, dropped by 4.21%. Kind of expected that if the public offer is going at 44.5 naira, then you'd expect that the market price should sort of adjust downwards. So you're going to see a bit of a cycle here where you would see the market price fall slightly below the offer price or slightly above the offer price, but it's just going to be like plus or minus 1 or 2% premium on both ways. So that's what I expect. So let's just assume 44.5 naira is the sort of like the value that the company is placing on GT Bank today, and that kind of gives GT Bank a market capitalization of about 1.3 trillion, slightly below the $1 billion mark in terms of valuation, but it's in the trillion naira bracket of stocks in Nigeria. If you want to buy shares, I tend to look at, like, especially public offers. I'm not a fan of public offers, right? But this is just a different kind of public offer. So I like public offers when there is value somewhere in there, especially when the price is when it's not overvalued. Unlike 2007, 8, 9, when banks did a lot of all those fundraising, some of those stocks were highly overvalued at the time. So now it's a reverse because I think that you're overvalued, and I have numbers to prove. So let's just go into my own valuation of GT. Let's even look at the profits. GT 5 years ago was doing 196.8 billion naira in terms of profit. Today, 2023, they did 539.6 billion. So that's like a 28.7% growth, compounded annual growth rate over the last 5 years, and year on year that's over 200%, about 219% or so on year on year growth. So you might want to say, look, that growth was a blip because a lot of banks did report improved numbers in 2023 because of forex valuation. Yeah, fine, but at those sort of numbers, and now that you're hearing him say they want to do $1 billion. Well, he didn't actually say he's going to do it in 2024, though, but he said he's going to do $1 billion. But at the moment, GT Bank or GT Co had an earnings per share of 19 naira 70 kobo. So even if you use that earnings per share, it kind of looks like the price to earnings ratio is 2.4 thereabout, or slightly below. So amongst its peers, GTB appears to be the most expensive bank. I mean, you would expect that because it's perhaps the most valuable of all the banks. So that's why it is that expensive. And they kind of have the numbers to justify it. For example, GTB's return on equity over the last 5 years averages 30%. In 2022 which was perhaps the lowest in terms of return on equity, was doing 19%. Still slightly just below inflation at the time. What am I even saying? Yes, like just around the inflation numbers. 2021 was 25%, 2020 27%. Last year, which you would call one of those years that don't happen all the time, it did 46% return on average equity. So it's a pretty solid number. It's a bank that delivers solid returns. And so even in terms of value, I like to look at dividend a lot for banking stocks. And when I look at GTB, they've been a consistent dividend payer, even though dividend payout ratio has averaged about maybe 40 something percent over the last 5 years. Last year was even worse because they averaged 17% dividend payout ratio, but that was also because of the sort of profits they had. They had 539 billion in profits and they paid 94 billion in dividends now. But if you compare dividends of 2023 to dividends of 2022, they did better. 2022 they did 91 billion. 2023 they did 94.1 billion naira in dividend. So I mean, if you then look at GTBs or GTCOs, as it's called, if you look at GTCOs, net asset per share, book value, is at about 49 naira. So it's trading at a slight discount to its current book value. And that's because GTCO does pay dividend regularly. So that's why you see net asset is probably not as huge as the other banks. Nevertheless, it's still, looks cheap to me, especially if you look at its earnings per share potential. I think that they could be giving you earnings per share of at least 20 naira this year. So if you use that earnings per share of 20 naira this year and try to adjust for price, for its forward price earnings ratio, which is my favorite way of valuing, of at least checking company valuations, the share price is at the current price of 44 naira undervalued. I think that this is a stock that has 50, 60 naira somewhere in there as valuation. So if you buy the offer, I think that within a year you could be seeing 50 naira to 60 naira in terms of value, all things being equal, that is. Now, if you want to look at dividend yield, which I tend to like to look at, GTB paid 3 naira 50 kobo in dividend yield, in dividend rather, last year, 3 naira 20 kobo. I'm pretty sure they're going to pay more than that this time around. So let's even assume that they double this figure, which is likely, depending on the kind of profit that they make. So let's say that they even pay maybe 6 naira or so. You're going to be looking at a dividend yield of around, that's based on even the current price, of around 13-14%. So that means if you put in 1 million naira in GTCO, dividend alone they're going to be giving you like maybe 130,000, which is decent in a market where dividend yield is usually 5, 6, 7%. So based on that, I think that in terms of the current price of the stock, should be a buy for me. I think that it's an offer that I would buy if I have money. So looks like a good deal at the current price. I wish I could get it cheaper, but this is what the market is saying. So it's still a decent value, still a decent discount to its intrinsic value. If I tell you my intrinsic value for this GT stock, you think I'm crazy. But intrinsically, I think that this is a stock that has 100 naira, that should be trading at about 100 naira. Yeah, that's what I think it should be trading at. But this is the market that we're in. We're in a market that is highly volatile, and demand and supply interplay is such that they sort of interchange hands, and it's difficult for banks to hold on to lofty valuations. So that's why you're seeing a lot of banks price this low. But in terms of real value, I kind of think this stock has 100 naira in interesting value, but it's going for 44 naira 50 kobo. I think that if you hold it for about a year, max 2 years, you should be able to get 16 naira of the stock. All right, so that is it. That is my my buy sell or hold for GT Co. We have an article out on nairametrics.com if you want to read a bit more about, maybe if you're someone who wants to read some more breakdown, some more analysis, if you're a financial fundamentals junkie, you might want to go in there and read that article. But um, I think I've done justice to this already. So that is it for GTB. Let me know which other stock you want me to review. Based on my own valuation. Do you think maybe you think the stock is too expensive or too cheap? Just let me know, and then I would always give you my own tea on it. All right, that is it for this episode of Follow the Money Daily, brought to you by Nairametrics. Look out for the next episode. I might be talking about another bank or maybe an oil company. Who knows? Signing out. Do have a profitable day ahead. Bye.